I'm Kathy Hester, and welcome to my kitchen. We're going to have some really fun discussion and possibly demos about vegan Thanksgiving stuff. I've got a few things I was thinking about. I've got some sweet potatoes here. I've got some regular potatoes. I was thinking we could cook some mashed potatoes. I've got some Butler soy curls. We can talk about soy-free options and gluten-free options. So if you notice me cooking with anything and you're like, well, I don't use X, make a comment and I will give you a good substitution. That's kind of my superpower. Is the way I look at it is when someone comes to my house for dinner, it's always like Thanksgiving, and I want them to feel like they got something super special they can't get anywhere else. So if you're oil-free, I gotcha. If you're allergic to gluten, I've got you. Allergic to tomatoes. It's not going to be necessarily a one-to-one exact exchange, but as you already know from being vegan, right, like tofurkey isn't a turkey, but it's also a very good transitional food when you're used to having turkey. So we're all different, you know. Some people are like, that's too processed. Well, that's okay. We can make something that's less processed for you. So I got you no matter where you are. I will help you. So what I wanted to do, and this is how I'm thinking this out, I want lazy meal. So I'm going to cook these soy curls in kind of some kind of brothy sauce that I'm making up right now, because I do teach 2 vegan cooking classes every month, and at least one recipe is made up on the spot, because I think that helps us all learn how to do things better. I'm looking for one of my special potato peelers. Oh, they're all in a big clump here. I might have a few more than normal people would have. Is that a good way to put it? These are just some yellowfin potatoes that came in my CSA, and you can always do something with potatoes. So I was thinking a bed of mashed potatoes. We can then make this soy curls and gravy together, put that over the top. We could roast some vegetables. I'm probably not going to do that, but if you want me to, I can. I've got probably some green beans that could go into the air fryer and roast right now. I was thinking super lazy dessert slash side dish. We can cook these and then maybe toss them with a little bit of roasted pecans, some maple syrup, some cinnamon, maybe some cardamom, get a little crazy. And that pretty much is it, right? You can throw some rolls and some veggies into the oven to roast, and that's pretty much everything. I might make a soup because I love soups. This is actually a little bitty 3-quart that I should plug in, so it's going to work. And I usually, my favorite, okay, the Instant Pot I will recommend most for you is going to be a 6-quart Duo for just like normal purposes. With saying that, over here I've got the Duo Evo Plus, which seems to be now called the Pro. I've seen the Pro coming out, and there's some cool features about that are kind of awesome. One of it is just, you know how when you have to release the pressure, you touch that little dial and go pss, pss, pss. You can just slide it, and it's got a double dome, so it doesn't fly out everywhere. And that is kind of awesome in my book. So I do like that very much. It is more expensive, so it just kind of depends on what you really would prefer to have. But I'm also, Black Friday's coming, and usually there's tons of Instant Pot sales. So I hope that you, if you don't have one or you're looking for a second one, can get one pretty easily. I will probably be posting up some deals that I find in my private Facebook group, which is Vegan Recipes Cooking with Kathy Hester. All the things. Okay. So we're just going to put our lid on really good. And so this is what I'm talking about. So with this, we want to make, this is always the weirdest thing in the world, sealing and venting. So you want it sealed. So towards sealing this little guy. All right, and I'm going to cook it for about 10 minutes, I think. Well, maybe 8 minutes. That's what I've got it on right now, and that seems easy. So let's do that. And this is the Ultra Mini, and even with the Pro and stuff, you have to press the button first. Let me go ahead and peel these sweet potatoes. And I could cook them in the other one, or I could cook them in this one. It's up to me. Up to you, really, because you're going to be cooking your own. And we could do things like you could roast the sweet potatoes. We could cook them and mash them and then put a topping on top. I have a recipe for a slow cooker version of a vegan sweet potato casserole over on healthyslowcooking.com. And if any of these recipes are interesting to you, let me know. Put it in the comments and I'll come back and I'll pop in the URL. Or if anybody like Dawn wants to do that, that's fine. Dawn is my best friend. So if you didn't get asked, you're welcome to. I have nothing to hold over your head to make you go look up things though. Now let's see. What is the sweet potato? Is it a side or a dessert? I think it could be either way. So literally, we are making up recipes as we go along today. So I was thinking, so I could do it two ways. I could even make it the same thing and do it two ways. Let's cook the sweet potatoes. We'll mash them and maybe we'll put a little bit of sweetener of our choice. So if that sweetener would be dates for you, you could even cook the dates in with the sweet potatoes to make them soft. And we could either serve that as like a sweet mashed sweet potato on the side, because that's traditional for Thanksgiving, or we could put it in parfait dishes. We could toast the pecans and maybe put them with a little bit of maple syrup, maybe put a little maple syrup in the mash. And we could make that like a little sweet potato parfait so I don't have to make pie crust, which is always a goal. You could also put that in some phyllo dough if you wanted to, right? Make a little tart or something. So those are all possibilities. With the sweet potatoes, you can go either way. We could even just roast them with a little bit of brown sugar or coconut sugar, just depending if you're going for refined or not. And that's what I meant earlier when I was kind of saying it doesn't really matter what your dietary limitations are. If you're like, I can't have sugar at all, but I can have dates, well, okay, we can work with that. You could always use date paste, or you could use date syrup, depending on what is okay with you. And for me, I'm just like, I'm making dinner. So this is what a normal thing is here, is that I'm always kind of experimenting and recipe developing one way or another. And that's how I like to do things. So like, if you hated cinnamon, maybe we would do our potatoes a little bit differently. We could leave out the cinnamon. We could even make these more savory. Maybe put some rosemary, some savory herbs in there. That could be good too. Okay. So the longest thing that's going to take to cook is going to be these coming up to pressure. The Instant Pots. Okay, I'm going to get these in chunks. I think I may use the other Instant Pot just to make this a little bit faster. Go. And what I'd love for you guys to get out of today, if you don't get anything else out of today, is that cooking doesn't have to be super hard, and it doesn't have to be super precise all the time either. I had, what, 3 medium-ish potatoes? Maybe you have 2. You'll just have less, right? We're going to do a lot of things to taste since I'm not using an actual recipe. If you haven't cooked without recipes a lot, it may seem really scary. But while we're doing this, you're going to see me go through the process of how I season things and how that works out. It's not about being perfect. It's about having an amazing dinner. And I feel really strongly about that. I'm going to have to get a little more water too for our soy curls, because I'm going to make kind of a yellowish gravy. Thinking of it, I wish you guys really were right here so you could holler and I wouldn't have to look to see if I'm overflowing that. And I'm probably going to cook these for about 6 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes. 4 cups, like magic. Okay. So I said I was going to pressure cook these. I think I said we're going to, since we're mashing these, if we overcook it a little bit, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do 7 minutes. This way, we've got these things kind of going, and we'll work on the next stuff. All right, so we got those cooking. I brought out some stuff for my gravy. We said we were going to do green beans. So let me find, I just did a green bean casserole on Thursday night for my latest Thanksgiving class. So these guys I got at Costco or Sam's, and they're organic snipped green beans, washed and ready to use. I think they are in a microwavable bag, which I am not going to use, but they're all ready for me. Now, I did break these up a little bit because they're pretty big as in long. So we could leave them like that for roasted green beans, would be pretty. And are we oil users or non-oil users? I'll talk about both, but I think I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in with this to toss. And let's put a little bit of garlic. What else do I want in there? This isn't even all the spices, you guys. But I'm like, we could do some chilies or something like that, but I think it's not going to go with what I'm doing. This is kind of a fun, yeah. Let's do a little smoked paprika. All right, and I'm going to get some minced garlic already. So I brought out, this is a Trader Joe's mushroom umami blend. Let me get it where we can see that. Sorry for the jiggle. Yay, now you can see it. This does have salt in it, so if you don't eat salt, you could just use regular mushroom powder. And this is smoked paprika. That's where I'm going with this. And I think we're going to put some regular garlic. And I happen to have some chopped up in here. I'm trying to remember if this is the Wegmans. There's Wegmans organic minced garlic, which is really nice time saver. And the ingredients, I'm trying to remember, yeah, garlic, water, and citric acid. Organic garlic, water, and citric acid. So pretty much whatever diet you're on, there's no oil, there's no salt. It's easy peasy. And you don't have to use the olive oil. You could toss it with maybe a little bit of aquafaba. This is a toaster oven that not a toaster, an air fryer. Let me empty this off real quick. I think Cheryl made an everything bagel. Oops. Okay. And I'll move this towards us so you guys can kind of see. All right. So these have nonstick pans. This is new. I just got it last week at Costco. It was on sale for $80. It has a little thing at the bottom. It's easier to clean out than the Breville, and it's a lot cheaper. If you're looking for something that does not have any kind of non-stick surfaces, the Breville's a great way to go. Since this is a Thanksgiving meal, usually I don't use oil. That's why I was thinking, you guys aren't an oil-free group. Maybe we'll just put a little drizzle of oil on this. Let's see. And I may only do enough for us to eat tonight. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do a little bit. And you can always double, triple, quadruple this as much as you want. And these were already washed and all of that. So I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil, probably about a teaspoon. And you probably could easily go less than that if you wanted to. I'm going to put probably about a clove of garlic in there. And then I'm probably going to toss this with my hands to get everything kind of in there really good. I'm going to sprinkle it with a little smoked paprika. If you hate smoked paprika, use regular or leave it out. This is your Thanksgiving goodie. I love smoky flavors, and southern green beans are very smoky. Now I was thinking we put a little mushroom powder. This mushroom powder has some salt in it, so I'm not going to do anything else. This is going to add a little umami flavor so that when I'm smelling this to see if I like it, and I do. I think I also want to put just a hint of nooch in there. I think that'll bring out, so like I'm probably putting a teaspoon in for these 2 servings. It's a very small amount. What was the last thing? Nooch. I added in probably about a teaspoon of nutritional yeast. Here, I meant to switch cameras. A teaspoon of nutritional yeast. What did I do? Probably half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. I did somewhere between half a teaspoon or a little more of this umami. It has some salt in it. It also has, as I toss, I'm going to toss and read this at the same time, you guys. I feel like I'm turning into magic because of you guys. It's got salt, dried onion, mustard seed, porcini mushroom powder, white button mushroom powder, a little crushed red pepper, black pepper, and a little bit of thyme. So this is just one of the ways. And see, it's so funny because I don't use oil. I'm like, God, those are so oily. It's the holidays, so we're going all out, and I am going to make a mess. So we could, we could be proactive and put this under here. You guys are encouraging me to be a grown-up. Okay, so I'm just going to spread those out. If some are, like that is a teeny tiny little guy, he's probably going to be done with some before some of the rest of them. You want to kind of keep this about on a single layer if you're doing this in your air fryer or your oven. You don't have to have a fancy like toaster oven air fryer. It can just be a regular air fryer, and this would be in the bottom. You could also put one of those handy dandy little parchment papers with the holes in there. So I'm going to keep this because I love using these kind of tongs no matter what kind of air fryer, because I can grab things. That one won. That one's still trying to come up to pressure, you guys. So just keep it as we'll use it to move it around, to get things out. For all the things, I'm going to get a spatula, and we're going to get all that goodness. Oh, here we go. This is an appropriate spatula. Squash goals, because I don't want to leave any of this garlic out, right? Because we can mix these up again. This is just all the good, yummy stuff. So I'm big on the whole spatula thing. And I'm trying to put it on a little bit more on the green beans where I can. Evidently I can't there. Okay, this guy's coming up. So now both the Instant Pots are up to pressure. If you do not in any world have to use a pressure cooker to cook your potatoes. From where I am right now, it's a lot easier. I have one induction burner, and so that way I can cook a bunch more. If I was over here on my stovetop, I just throw them into some water. I say, let's try roasting these. I'm going to put it on a lower shelf. And this is still fairly new to me, so I think let's try 380 for, I'm going to do it for 8 minutes. I'm going to have to do all that again because I turned it off. That's why. I think if I leave it there, do you just go? Yes. Okay. So we've got that. And then over here I have things where we can put our potatoes in later. And we're going to need something for the soy curls. So we could do one of two things. We could reconstitute the soy curls and then put it in a gravy, or we could make a watery gravy kind of and then put the soy curls in it and let them soak it up. And that's what I was thinking of doing. So let's get a big pan. I have some limited options because of the induction burner. But I think what we're going to do is kind of make something brothy, and then we may end up making a separate gravy, but let's see. All right. All right, so let's put some water in here. We're going to kind of make it like broth. I'm trying to remember. I don't have any bouillon right now. I don't think I have any of my own homemade bouillon. Do I have any better than bouillon? You could, nah, we're just going to make our own. So you could put bouillon in here. We're going to put, I think, probably about 2 cups of water. Yeah, let's put 2 cups of water. We're going to go ahead and put, this is 1/8 of a cup, so it's 2 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put a half a cup of nutritional yeast in here. I've got some poultry seasoning, which you can't see. Okay. And we made that in class yesterday. And in fact, if you guys tell me that you want a class, I'll give you both the classes, the one yesterday and the one from last year at super secret discount. Because why not? Live on the edge. That's what I say. But basically there's like sage, thyme, I think I have marjoram in there. So we're going to put there's no salt. We're going to put a tablespoon of that in there. Molly's saying, I love that you're making it more watery. I only soak separately. Love watching this new to me method. And here's the thing, is that sometimes, like when I'm doing things in the Instant Pot or the slow cooker, I will go ahead and cook everything together, and so that it works that way. And I'm not going to use this garlic. I'm going to use powdered garlic because I don't want to have to worry about cooking that down. So I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of granulated garlic. And you can make this yourself too. You can take garlic and dehydrate it and grind it up. And we're going to put a little bit of onion powder in here too. If you had carrot powder, you could add some of that in, or tomato powder. I don't want to go quite that direction umami-wise right now. If we wanted it to be smoky, we could add some smoked paprika or some mushroom powder. It's really up to you. So I'm just going to kind of mix it a little bit. It's not going to incorporate perfectly in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just going to start getting it warmed up. And I want this to be real strong. You may want to start with just 1 teaspoon of the poultry seasoning. And I don't have any salt in this at the moment. So I'm going to put just a little bit of salt, probably somewhere between a 1/4 teaspoon and a 1/2 teaspoon. Just let that melt into our little mix. And we could go ahead and put a little bit of pepper in there. Cheryl, my wife, is real sensitive to pepper, so we're not going to put a whole lot. Dawn hates pepper. I like that, Lisa. Kathy Cam. Exactly. Dawn asked what the white stuff was. It was onion powder. So we put garlic powder, onion powder, poultry seasoning, which is really the important thing, and nutritional yeast, a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay. And before I even try to make this get thick and gravy-like, I want to see how much liquid is left over. So I'm going to put in, we're going to use some soy curls. If you aren't using something like soy curls, you could in fact not make this so watery, make a gravy and do tofu. So with the tofu in one of the classes, I make a coating with nutritional yeast, some flour, and some poultry seasoning. Put it in the air fryer, let it go. You know, there you go. And then we've got our main, and we put the gravy on that. The reason we're doing this watery is so that we can reconstitute these. Let me show you, in case you haven't seen soy curls. They look like TVP, but they're non-GMO soybeans that have been cooked and squished and extruded. That's it. So there's not any other ingredients. Let me see if I, like literally soybeans, whole soybeans. And so Dawn says she uses nigella seeds instead of pepper, and that is fine too. That is our air fryer. Ooh, they're looking pretty good so far. They are not done, but I'll show you what we got so far already. Yeah. So see how they're getting wrinkly and nice? They're probably pretty darn close. I'm going to mix them up a little bit. Some of the smaller ones, you know, get a little more of the oil on there. Or if you aren't using oil, that's fine too. I'm going to sit these in here, and I'm not going to finish them off yet. I'm going to start finishing them off a little bit later. Okay, so we're kind of bringing this up to almost a boil. And I'm just going to let these go in there. It's about 1/2 bag. We could probably do even more in there. But for right now, that's where I'm headed. Okay. And we just want them to get nice and soaked up. Okay, so while that's happening, my potatoes and things are getting done. So let me show you this one that I really like. See if I can move this. It's better if you don't move things like this while they're cooking. So this is one of the do as I say, not as I do. Okay, so see how this guy is different? And you'll notice it's going to be so much better on this one. There we go. Right. Okay, so because it has this extra shield and do this, do you see how it's super thin and fine? I'll let you see from the side too. I do have a fan over there, so if you're noticing that it's blowing away, that's why. So we can just let that guy sit there and it's not making a mess, which I love. Okay, and I'm just kind of making sure everybody's getting in the Getting in the bath water. Okay, now this guy is going to be a mess and irritating, especially after that one. Here we go. So, see, I'm just going to have to do it little by little. I'm going to move it a little bit further, and we can do it from the front. So you can kind of see what I'm doing though, right? But what happens is without that other thing, there's some extra liquid. I'm trying not to get the camera. If that makes you nervous, these things that you get with your Instant Pot, you can literally use them to keep your hand away from it. And I don't, with something so liquidy as this, I don't just put it over there because stuff is going to come out eventually. If it's a soup or something super wet, and it actually makes the whole thing harder to clean up. A lot of my recipes talk about using natural pressure release because of that, but it takes longer. Oh, that's a good point, Dawn. The dragon does fit on this one. I just haven't used this in a while. The handy dandy dragon. So this is from Etsy, and it fits on here. So let me move it this way so you can see. And that keeps it from going everywhere. Plus it goes, rawr, and you gotta love that. Oh, but you can still see, actually. His little head came off. Actually, this is perfect because you can see that some water still came out. See, right on over there. And there's nothing wrong with it. It just makes a mess to clean up. It's raining potato water. Okay. And now you see why I like that one. But like this, the duo that's like this probably costs between $60 and $80. And I think that's going for more like $130. So do you need it? That's up to you. I don't, this is fine. This is more than fine. And if you don't have an Instant Pot and you've been wanting one, Black Friday's coming. They always have good sales. Also, if you go and you're in Amazon.com, right up at the top, where you click down, it says books and all those other things. Click down and go to Amazon Warehouse, put in Instant Pot. That's going to be returns. And sometimes almost always, throughout the year, you can get them for Black Friday prices. Oh, I think we can do it now. I think it's close. One would think so after all the liquid that came out of there that I am wiping up now. So all that from dragony stuff. All right. Let's look at our soy curls, our faux turkey, and see. It's looking pretty good. It's soaking up real good. So I could do a couple things. I'm going to taste this and see how it is and what I want to add to it. I would encourage bouillon if you have some. And I have a great bouillon recipe. I have it both on plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. Healthy Slow Cooking tells you how to make it all the ways, except for Instant Pot. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and see, should I make it saltier? Should I add something else to it? Oh, it tastes good. I would like to add more nutritional yeast. I don't think it has nearly enough. And I think I put half a cup in. I think I'm going to go for at least another quarter cup, possibly more than that. And let me get this. And to me, that makes it taste more chickeny. And that's why I'm kind of interested in that. Okay. And I think it could use a little more salt too. And if it was just for me, I'd probably put more pepper. You could also add a touch of smoky. Okay, I'm going to get another taster spoon. See how that is. I like that better. I think it still could use a little more salt. And you don't have to use this much nutritional yeast. I just am really digging it. So I'm actually putting almost a cup of nutritional yeast in here. I think instead of a tablespoon of poultry seasoning, it probably would have been better to do 2 teaspoons. I think it was just a little bit too much. And that's why I'm having to balance it out with the nutritional yeast. But I also love nutritional yeast, so I don't feel too bad about it. Okay, let me let you guys see kind of what's going on. And that's even thickening out. Yeah, it reduced, and so it's not only just reduced, it got soaked up in here. So that was part of it too. Now, we can make a thicker gravy too if we want to. But I'm going to stop for a minute and thanks, Dawn, for putting all these up. Yeah. And the key to anything is taste it. So if you're like, I don't know about this poultry seasoning nonsense that she's talking about, use a teaspoon. Taste it. I want more of that, right? You can always add more. You can't always take it out. I'm going to put this for just a minute. Kind of the nutritional yeast, I feel like, is actually thickening it up pretty good. But we could add some more water and thicken it up with some flour of your choice. But like right now, I'm feeling like that's not too bad. I think that could work as is, but we can talk about that too. So if that's something that you feel strongly about, let me know and we'll make that. I think we're going to, remember, that's sweet potatoes. Let's make, and in case you didn't know, I know you guys probably do, there's lid holders included. So I'm going to take these potatoes, I'm going to put them through the strainer, and then we'll make up some potatoes real quick. And we can make these with or without oil as well, very easily. And we'll talk about that. And I'm making kind of small-ish portions. I am also going to go ahead and rinse this because I'm going to be putting my sweet potatoes in here too. And we haven't even toasted our sweet potato nuts yet or gotten them out. Perhaps I should do that too. And what I'll do is I can, we'll just use, I want to use them whole. I'm just going to put some whole pecans on here and throw them in the toaster, in the air fryer. You could use any kind of nut you wanted or no nuts at all. I'm just going to put like a handful. Sometimes what I'll do is just toast them in a pan on top of the stove or whatnot, and then just kind of whirl them a little bit. Ooh, those are looking good. Even though we didn't have this on, there's heat in there, right? So it was still kind of cooking. So we're just going to, put, the one thing I don't like is this comes to 15 minutes every time. I'm going to put it on 2 minutes just for the nuts for right now. I have a big lake of steam. All right, so we got our potatoes. I've got a little bit of almond milk. You want to make sure it's plain and unsweetened. That's the only rule. Don't put your good vanilla milk in here. You'll be sad. We could put things in here. We could put vegan butter. We could put, right? We could put nutritional yeast, make them cheesy potatoes if you have some roasted garlic. And actually, I have some roasted garlic powder in here somewhere. Here we go. So I have some Penzeys roasted garlic powder, and that's great in a pinch. So it's going to give you that same good flavor. Oh, that's great. Thanks. I said soaked and reduced. And that's the thing, because if I was trying to make gravy with that much water, it would take forever. And that's okay if you're making a lot of gravy. And Molly's saying, is the potato ricer a good gadget? I think it is. I just tend to just use a masher. And there's two kinds of mashers in a combo. I don't have the combo yet. This one looks a lot like a potato ricer, in fact. And I like this a lot. This is really great, especially like when you're mashing beets or harder root vegetables. I make a gluten-free vegan hot dog, and so I have to mash all that, and it's hard. This is like the typical one that I grew up with. And there's one that actually looks like it's the two, and there's a spring, and it goes crunch, crunch. And so that's one of like my students' favorites. And this isn't very much in here, so I'm probably just going to use this little gadget. And the only reason I don't have a ricer is just because it seems like a lot of storage for not that much. So I'm smelling it to see how potent it is. And that's my nuts saying, hello, I've been toasted, lady. I'm setting these over to the side too. And we'll get to those in a minute. I think we talked about making sweet potato parfaits. So, oh, can I reach that? I've got parfait glasses. We'll do something with that. And I think I might even have some, no, I don't have any more animal crackers. So let's put some salt and pepper. You could put truffle powder or some truffle oil in there. You can make it with olive oil. You could do so many different things. Mashed potato, you can make it with wasabi, sun-dried tomato puree. We're going kind of plain because that's kind of the way I like them. So I'm going to mix them up like this. I often do this in a metal bowl like I'm doing right now so that they stay warm a little bit longer because I'm making my dinner. So, and we're almost done with everything too. You guys realize that, right? We've almost done a whole dinner in less than an hour with me making it up right as we go along. So I poured some. And the way I decide how much almond milk is how smooth or wet I want my potatoes. And I'm making them a little bit wetter than maybe I would because they're still going to lose or kind of take up some of that because they're warm. That looks really good. Okay, and I feel like it needs a little more salt. It didn't feel like it had very much salt at all. I'm not going to put pepper in it for Cheryl. And you could just melt the butter in there if you wanted to. I love Miyoko's butter. If I was serving these to a non-vegan audience, they definitely would have Miyoko's butter in there. And probably a little extra salt too, if I want to be quite honest. And see how this stuff is thickening up still. So I don't know that I'm going to have to put any flour in there to make gravy. I think that's going to work for me. If I wanted more gravy, we can. And again, you can tell me what you want to do. Let me check these green beans. I think they're pretty darn close, honestly. All right. I have a bunch of sun-dried tomatoes I just dried. I'm going to take these pecans and bring them over here. I'm going to get a little maple syrup. And some spices, and then we'll make our little kind of parfait. Here's some maple syrup. And I'm going to strain these and put them in a bowl just like I did with the other potatoes, the regular potatoes, right? This one also has these handles, which is kind of nice. Get out of there, last piece of potato. great. Okay, I don't know why that's doing that. Alrighty, and I didn't get my spices yet. Doo-doo-doo. Cinnamon, allspice. We could put some ginger in there. You could even put some cloves if you want. I'll bring it all out. Bring some cardamom. And we can decide how this is going to work. We could, instead of mashing it, we could puree it. Would you? And I think that's actually probably a better way to go if this is not going to be our side, but our dessert. So let me work my way back to the blender. And move some stuff. I'm probably moving stuff as much as I'm making stuff, huh? Let me get this cord out of the way. Get the Vitamix. We're going to make it smooth and beautiful. Okay. Cheryl bought me all these great Halloween spatulas. Aren't those cute? So we'll use one of those. Where's the one? I was trying to find, there's a couple of super cute ones. Treat Monster. That seems good for this one. Okay. Oh, and you know what? That seems to, I think I would like this to be drained a little bit more. So I am going to take this and try and get as much of the water out of there as I can. Can you guys see some of that? It's not a whole lot, but if we need liquid to make this smoother, I'd rather use a little of the almond milk and or the maple syrup. Ooh, the maple syrup is attached to those sweet potatoes. So I'm probably going to use about 2 tablespoons of that. We'll see if we need a little bit of almond milk after that. Let's probably put in half a teaspoon of cinnamon. I don't feel the cloves. We'll put a little ginger, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. And if you're unsure, always do this. You've got your soup, you've got this thing you think maybe you want to put in the soup, smell them together. This one's a winner. I'm going to put probably 1/8 teaspoon of allspice. Let me decide if I want cardamom. I do, but Cheryl isn't going to like it. And let's blend and see what's happening. I've never made this before, by the way. We're making it all up right now. Okay, let's look at it from the top and let's see. I can hear it kind of blah, 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 blah. Okay. I want this to be real smooth, so I'm going to scrape it down. Also going to go ahead and taste it. And what I would do is make this part ahead of time because it will firm up a little bit in the fridge. And I would serve this as a cold dessert. Let me taste it. It's sweet enough. I think it could use a little more cinnamon and a little more allspice. And it's always good to go ahead and test this anyhow, because maybe you didn't use allspice since last year and maybe it's not quite as strong as it was. I'm also going to put in just a splash of this to kind of make it a little creamy. You could have also put some soaked cashews in there to make it decadent and extra creamy, and that would work really well too. Okay. We could have even tossed those pecans in there, but I want them to be chopped up on the top. So what we're going to do with this is I've got 2 little parfait cups. So we'll make these dessert cups. And you could even use something like, you could use silken tofu too if you wanted to. And we could have just not done this and just mashed up the sweet potatoes and made like a sweet cinnamon mash. There's a little bit extra in there. Put that over here. And actually, I want this knife, I think. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this a little bit. And I would put these in the fridge, and then I would chop up some of these nuts, or you could put them whole. So maybe we'll leave 2 whole. Let's find 2 really good whole ones. The prettiest of the pretties. I think those 2 are pretty good. Okay. We'll do those 2, and then I'm just going to chop these up. Normally what I would do, because I don't want these to get moist and not crunchy, is I will save these and I will top them at the end. But because you guys aren't going to hang out that long, we'll do that right now. And so the purpose of all of this is, like, we've made 2 sides, gravy, a main, and a dessert in an hour. And you can do this too. And that's not to say that if you want to have a big, giant, wonderful feast that you can't have it. You sure can. I think we all know we can cook all day if we want to. But I don't know if everyone knows. Maybe you're in this group because you're like, well, I thought I'd want to make Thanksgiving and now I want to stay in. I'm actually going to Houston to see Dawn, who's watching this with me. And if it were not for that, I would not be leaving the house at all next week. At all. I just wouldn't feel like it. And so probably what I would do is, at some point I get a burst of energy during Thanksgiving and go, you know, I think I want to make Thanksgiving dinner. And I've done this several times in my lifetime. And I just want you to know that you can do this, right? So for this, I'd put this beautiful, and you could just have it like this and not even do any of the other work. I'm going to sprinkle some of this stuff around because I want it to look decadent. This could also be granola or toasted oats, you know, something like that. I think that's not a shabby dessert. I would not say no to that, and hopefully you wouldn't either. Plus pretty cups. And so see, it's already fairly set, and it'll set up a little bit more. Just like soups get thicker once you have them in the fridge, it's going to do that. And I'm going to make up 2 plates, and we're going to have Thanksgiving at my house. So let me get maybe I'll get our Harry Potter plates. We'll have special Harry Potter Thanksgiving. Yeah. Oh, and Dawn said she would eat that. You may eat that. Maybe we'll make this. Like, literally, it's nothing. And here's the thing. Like I said, you could have used dates. We could have thrown some dates in there with the sweet potatoes so it would have cooked and gotten soft. And then this would be whole food plant-based, no sugar, salt, or oil. You could also, if you do salt, you could add a little extra pinch of salt in there, and that would make it taste a little sweeter. Okay, and yes, Cheryl and I have our house plates. Those of you who know me, it comes as no surprise. Let me move this over so you can see a little bit better. There we go. I'll get rid of some of these guys. The only thing about cooking fast is it makes a bigger mess, I feel like. Do I have 2 of these guys? Okay. So, well, I could use my, and I'm going to just have the, going to heat up those beans just a little bit and let those go on. So we could either, I want it. And I'm gonna layer the soy curls on top of this. So I want to make a nice indentation for that to happen. Cheryl doesn't like as much gravy to her potatoes as I do. And if you have leftover mashed potatoes, A, who are you? And can you tell us all of your other secrets? But you could make like pancakes with the mashed potatoes too. Okay. So then we can just, so see how this, I feel like some of the soy curl chunks in the bottom softened up and kind of soaked up and thickened up that gravy. So I don't feel like it needs extra gravy, but you could put extra gravy if you wanted to. And what I really mean, instead of saying gibberish, is you can add some extra liquid and a little bit of flour, even right in here, and turn this into a more gravy-full sort of situation. I'm going to get a little more of this gravy stuff on mine. There we go. All right. Oops. Here, let me get that off. So you can see a beautiful, ooh, it tastes good. And then we'll put some of these beans on. And what is it? Bob's your uncle and Kathy's your aunt. How about we do that? All right. And we could have made more beans. You can make just the amount you want. So we can make a ton of these, or we can make not so many. So if you end up having guests come over later, there you go. The one thing I would change or do at this point is I would put a little bit of that smoked paprika on top of this. Maybe, come on. Oh, it's not coming out well. Just to make it look a little prettier. You could use non-smoked paprika. And, right? And we could put, oh, guys, here, sorry. There we go, that's better. And I think I have some parsley over here too. I'm going to try and find it. One of these is parsley. Yes. So again, we were talking about dehydrating. I've dehydrated some parsley. Just for occasions like this, actually for photo shoots. And see, that just looks a little nicer. Not bad for an hour. And don't forget, we've got desserts too. We have all the things, all of them. Alrighty. So, and really, we have enough for 3 people easily, except for the green beans. I was stingy because I want to make one more meal with them next week. But it's just easy peasy. We could have also taken those soy curls. I could have made a whole other gravy by sauteing some mushrooms, putting some oat flour, unbleached flour, gluten-free baking blend until it gets a little thick. Add some more water if I want it to be like this clear chickeny kind of gravy, or I could do milk if I want it to be more like a creamy mushroom gravy. And I could have that on the side too. We could have, while we did the green beans, we could have also had another thing going with like some Brussels sprouts or something like that too. So let's see what questions I got. Okay, Molly's getting hungry. Kathy's your aunt. Love that. And Dawn says, Kathy is my child's aunt. Yes, I am. I am officially Aunt Kathy. Thanksgiving should be fun and enjoyable, and you get to have some of these flavors. I definitely would serve this with some cranberry sauce. I have a great recipe for Instant Pot cranberry sauce on plantbasedinstantpot.com, but I love canned cranberry sauce. I grew up on it, and it's like my special cranberry jello that's actually vegan, so I just enjoy it. I think a little bit of that here would bring everything together. So again, if you guys have any questions, I know we're running a little bit behind, but this is this is nothing to sneeze at. And like I said, if you don't want dessert, this can be magically another side right there. And if you didn't want to mash it up or puree it, I would mash it with a masher if I was going to make it as my sweet-ish side dish. You could also just slice the potatoes kind of thickly, boil them a little bit in the Instant Pot or on the stove, and then finish them off in the air fryer. Maybe toss them in a little bit of maple syrup and some things and some raw chopped pecans, and just finish that off, and you could use it that way as well. That would be visually a little more appealing than all the mash and gooey stuff. Okay, guys, well, have an amazing, amazing Thanksgiving, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help you, and that's it. Bye.